So as I said, I would like to welcome on stage the partner and head of social impact at domestic data streamers, Martina Nadal. Hi, Martina. Please have a seat with me. I also would like to welcome on stage Natalia Vodyanova, who's the founder of the Naked Heart Foundation. Told you we were going to talk about hearts. Welcome, Natalia. Please join us. And I would like to welcome Thomas Bourgeron, a neuroscientist and professor at the Institut Pasteur. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Martina. So in the second part, I think we can delve even deeper into what was said. We closed the first part in talking about hearts and how convenient that we have the founder of the Naked Heart Foundation. I think I like the parallel that Jan made about, to understand neurodiversity, we need to focus on our hearts. Do you agree, Thomas?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, art and a little bit of the brain, but a lot of art, yes.
Yes, a lot of heart. Martina, I would like to, as we're delving deeper into neuroscience and the particularity of our brains, you in Barcelona are working on an incredible project around synthetic memory. And I know it's very complex for us to wrap our heads around it. So we needed a little bit of material support, which you're going to go through quickly with the... I need to connect it here. Yes, okay. I didn't know what synthetic memory was either, but I'm sure you'll be pleased, Thomas, to discover this. If it doesn't work, we'll have to get somebody to do it for us. No, it's good.
So very quickly, hi everyone. I come from a studio where we merge like psychology, social sciences, creativity, and technology to trigger social change. And this project is a project that we started when we saw the boom of AI, and we asked ourselves, how could we use AI for taking better care of one another, no? And that's why this is so much connected with what we are going to talk in here. And basically what we have been doing is using AI to reconstruct the memories of people suffering Alzheimer or dementia, as well as other communities. And the way it works is basically like we have a methodology where we invite people who are suffering these diseases or these conditions to share their memories of their lives, and then there's an interviewer and a prompter who's basically the person that's taking like all these little stories and transforming them through, like after asking, for example, which was the first memory they had in their lives, we start like writing to the machine and we introduce these inputs, what we call the prompt. And with the prompt, what we can generate are images of these parts of the past that were not documented. And thanks to this, we can share these images with the people, and then they start recognizing themselves and the first memories they had. And so we refine the images with their feedback. So what you see here is, for example, the memory of Maria. Maria is 84 years old, and basically her memory was when she was a child, she remembered going to the balcony of an unknown family because her father was a Republican, and during civil war in Spain, they couldn't see one each other, and she, like her mother, rented a balcony in front of the prison so they could have some visual contact, no? So basically we started reconstructing this memory, and Maria would give us feedback, and then we could even like generate these little videos that would recreate this memory from different perspectives, from the perspective of the mother, of the father, and so on. So we started studying how this can be used as a reminiscence therapy tool, which are basically the therapies that stimulate the brain in a very emotional way, connecting with the past, to see if this can be a tool for caregivers, for the families, and so on, to take care of people, and also to connect with memories that may be sometimes traumatic traumatic. No, we also went to Brazil to work with migrant communities and reconstruct parts of their pasts, their journeys to arrive to a new country and all the things that they left and they had to leave, like slavery or forced migration. Also working with other migrant communities in Barcelona or people who went out of jail and they are relating to their past in a complex way. And we will open the first public office of memory reconstruction in Barcelona where anyone will be able to go there and reconstruct this as a public service. And lastly, we are also gathering funds to do a documentary to show the climate change transformation and impact in Mali, and deepening our research also from the scientific part and the artistic part with Google Arts and the Toronto University to see exactly which can be the further impact of this initiative at an ethical level, technological level, and also compared with other reminiscence therapies techniques. So only to give you a little grasp.
Thank you. I'm going to let everyone digest this because I'm still digesting it from 3 weeks ago when you told me. On the day-to-day life, you, Natalia, have been working diligently. You have a legacy of 20 years of work helping children with autism. Maybe you can tell us what you've been doing for all this time.
Thank you, Nora. Yesterday and today I visited ChangeNOW, and I'm really so inspired by all the solutions presented here for the better world. And it's really made me think that as a sister of at the time growing up with a little girl, neurodivergent, we can say that, or with multiple disabilities, I wish some of the solutions were there for us as a family, and this is really what inspired me to dedicate my life to this issue of access to state-of-the-art evidence-based practices. And so today I would love to present to you the 3 principles that we work with at the Naked Heart Foundation. They are accessibility, improving quality of life, and fidelity to our programs. So first of all, I don't know if many of you are aware, but according to World Health Organization, at least 100 of people, 1 in 100 children born with autism, and that is not even, some research suggests that there are even as many as 1 in 36 children born with autism, and that's really a staggering number of children. So that's why our first goal is really accessibility. And in case of autism, it's not necessarily about physical environment, as Leah mentioned very eloquently. It's really knowledge of the society and the access to evidence-based programs. So at the Naked Heart Foundation, over the last 20 years, we've impacted over 25,000 individuals with autism and other special needs and their families, and it's really been an incredible journey. We've done this through educational programs, early education and intervention, and establishment of specialized centers. So in order to make it possible, it took us many years to build a network of professionals who are not only professors from the best university in the world, they are generously willing to spread and to share their knowledge with the rest of the world rather than making these paid-for programs. And of course, that makes our dissemination process a little bit different. Because our programs are free and accessible to children, families, to specialists. That means that we heavily rely on donors to support us on this journey. So for the last 2 years, we actually been bringing some of these programs to France. And we started 3 years ago by meeting local experts and local organizations like our own to really build a network to understand the need in France. And we spent a year doing that. We met over 40 organizations. We identified some great organizations that we've partnered with, with Anne Bibet, with Vivre and Agir Autisme, and well, we met with Thomas, and Thomas has spoken at one of our seminars. This is what we've been doing for the last 2 years. It's really bringing the world knowledge and know-how and local best knowledge and making it accessible to parents, to other specialists. And so just to mention a few, when I say world best experts, it's really, I mean world best experts. For example, Nathan Hall from Marcus Autistic Center. It's Marcus Center. It's the largest autistic center in United States. Or Tony Cassary from University of Los Angeles State University, UCLA, and really many others. And so we're beginning our journey. So our next goal is improving quality of life. So Jan mentioned the fact that training is needed. Leah mentioned that she had struggled in her life, and this is sort of a great representative of spectrum when we're talking about neurodivergence. Leah talking about the fact that her issues are invisible, and Jan talking about these people being unemployed and giving them an opportunity. And of course, Mita also talked very eloquently about the need of training, of preparing the workspaces. And so this is about really improving the quality of life. So we really, of course, agree at the Naked Heart Foundation that even the most difficult, children that are born with very nonverbal, I mean, let's name it as it is, nonverbal, with great behavior issues. If we start early with the power of the great evidence-based programs, we can dramatically change their lives. So, an example, with early intervention, it's a program that we need to start before 5 years old, and this program will ensure that, well, if there is no intervention, 75% of children with autism will be nonverbal. We understand that communication in today's world is something so important. With the right evidence-based practices, only 25% will be nonverbal. So, of course, even if with this 25% nonverbal, there's alternative, augmentative communication skills and tools that we can give to people with autism. But it's really, I love the neurodivergent movement, and a lot of self-advocates are very right that our world needs to change, not them. But it's true that with early intervention and best practices, we can make difference to lives of children like my sister Oksana, who is still nonverbal at 36. Who knows what would have happened if she had access to programs in early age. But don't worry about her. She's a really happy girl, woman. She also has access to great evidence-based programs. Speech, she communicates with a system called PECS, with cards, and she can say, I'm cold, I want water. She communicates differently than us, but it's still, of course, I as a sister, and I wish she could speak to me, but that's okay. And another important goal for us is fidelity. It's something that we talk about a lot because, well, fidelity is really important because we have the original source of the programs that we have access to. And it's really important for us that these programs, and when we train specialists, that there is no space for misunderstanding, there is no space for misinterpretation. And it's something actually, well, fidelity is actually something that a lot of people do not follow. They think that if they have listened to a lecture, like we have this funny anecdote from one of our seminars when Connie Cassery, who is the founder of this amazing play program called Jasper, and she was presenting her program, and really Jasper is about play. So a specialist, the tutor plays with the child, but in the play there are certain prompts, very important prompts that help the child to gain speech and to correct negative behavior and really to help the child. And so we finished the presentation, we're very happy with it, and then one of the specialists here came to us and said, but we play with our children too. And so, you know, this is when we talk about fidelity. It's really not just because you heard presentation and you heard playing with children. If you play with children, it doesn't mean you're doing Jasper program. You're just playing with them. But Jasper is a method that's evidence-based that requires certain time to learn about. And really, it's all I wanted to mention today is about our principles. So again, accessibility, improving quality of life, and fidelity, and really invite you all to follow us on Instagram. It's a very small account, but we've been. You can really follow our seminars and our forums. You can learn more. You can hear from these incredible specialists for yourself. If you, we have, for example, the next one is on 13th of May, and it's about, because of the coming up Olympic and Paralympic Games, it's about sport and autism. Really fun event. I'm sure also going to be very interesting for people in the space. And we're bringing great specialists to talk about that. So our Instagram, it's Naked Heart France. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalia. And I want to emphasize that it's true for families, having people in their families who are neurodivergent or living with autism. You give such a great amount of tools and support, and it's all free. So I think coming to the seminars is really helpful, and you get to meet great thinkers and professors, such as yourself, Thomas. Maybe you can tell us, what's it like to be a neuroscientist in France today, working within that scope?
Okay.
And internationally too, because you also work internationally.
So first, thank you very much for inviting me. This is an intense pleasure to be here, because that's, you know, it's there is neurodiversity, but this is also a diverse team, and I think there are many aspects that needs to be gathered together, because I'm a geneticist first, but I think people cannot be reduced to a gene or a genetic sequence. But I think that genetics is the science of diversity. If there is no diversity in the sequence, there is no genetics. And instead of saying there is a pure genome and there is a genome with a mutation where you are sick or have a disease, it's not like this. It's more like a continuum. So autism was first seen as something very prototypic, so very specific. Then people realize that in the population there are autistic traits, and especially I can tell you in scientists, it's clear that we have some autistic traits. Most of my colleagues have some autistic traits, and I think this is something that can give you more in life, but this is also something that can have some difficulties. So we have to understand what this diversity can do good, and sometimes really it's a difficulty. It's a difficulty because maybe the society doesn't see this diversity as something good. And this was amazing to hear the people that are this éloge to diversity. It's really amazing. But for example, school in France is not maybe the place where it's accepting too much diversity. And I think that one of the key is to have, for some kids and from some adults, you will need a medical care, for sure. But a medical care without education, I think it doesn't work. So children and adults, they don't need to be at the hospital. They need to be at school or at work. So I think it's super important that the medical care and the educational and the workplace, it's a diverse world, work together. But that's not the case today. But there will be a new institute in Paris. That's the best news I've heard of last years in France, because that's and this institute will really work together with it's a really diverse team with psychiatrists, brain imaging people, and people with autism, people with ADHD. I think genes don't care about the diagnostic criteria. I think they're and the genes that are involved in autism are also involved in ADHD. It's a trouble de l'attention et du déficit. I don't know. And so that's all. And I think these are the difficulties. We have to understand why. We have to understand the real reason. I mean, I always say that my father is a psychoanalyst. So he said I really killed a father by finding genes for autism. But this is really still in France. The mother, the cold mother, who really push back their children, it's still something that people listen when they have a child with autism. So this is really something that we need to really concentrate on the real cause of the diversity in the real good way, and maybe sometime we need some medical care. So that's really something that this is one message I would like to give. The second message is really that we have more and more what we call participatory research. So we knew a lot about autism, looking at genes, brains, blah, 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 but we never really listened to the people with autism. And now they are coming. They are really co-creation process. It's really super rich. And they learn a lot. I mean, they learn a lot, but they teach a lot. And for example, even in terms of how to co-create research, how to look at something, for example, the sensory motor problems. I mean, most of the individuals have really high hypersensory. And we were not really looking at this in research, which is one of the main problems of some people with autism. And that's maybe one of the causes of their difficulties to interact with the others. So that's the way we are working now. It's super diverse. We are looking at also at what we call comorbidities. So autism rarely comes isolated. It comes sometimes with intellectual disability, sometimes with epilepsy, sensory motor problems, gastrointestinal problems. And these problems were not really looked at, which is crazy. And one day, sleep problems are huge for the kid and for the family. And I said to the researcher, did you look at the sleep? Did you study the sleep of people with autism? And they say, oh, but people with autism, they don't have sleep problems. And I said, what? And they said, no, they have autism. So if you have autism, you're protected from everything. You know, you don't have a tooth problem. If you cry, it's because you have autism. And I think that's ChangeNOW. We are looking at the person as a person,
Holistically.
not as a page in a book or a diagnostic. And I think that's the holistic way of looking at autism and at the neurodiversity. Really, I think that now in California, it's 1 in 22 for autism. Mm-hmm. And I think that the new generation, they look more at the mental health of the young generation. I think it's super great. I think it was a little bit like cancer when I was young. I mean, people didn't talk about cancer. It was like taboo. Mental health is still taboo in my generation as an old guy. But now the young people, they say about mental health issues. And I think this is really great. So, and the last thing, autism, there is 3 males for 1 female. We still don't know exactly why, but we know we are very bad in diagnosing female. With the participatory research now, there is a wonderful woman, I think she's from England, and she said, I get the diagnosis super late. And she said, I get the diagnosis super late because I'm a girl, I can speak, and I'm smart. And I thought it was great. But she has really autism, I mean, and with all the... And she said that we need to accept more. And I met a lot of mothers of children with autism, and they discovered that they have autism. And this woman, some of the women are using camouflage, so to hide their autistic traits. And these women, they have less quality of life, more anxious, more depressed. And I think that's really awful. So I think we need to accept more diversity in research, which is already there, in school and at work. It's amazing. But really, the diversity as an inclusion, we have to be careful also to have like really inclusion in the society, because they are there. I mean, it's not like they are someone else. I mean, they are.
Yeah, it's part of life. Yeah.
I say none of my friends are neurotypical. So.
For sure. But Martina, speaking of that, in closing, at the beginning I was saying that we know now that there's no brain stays the same over the course of a lifetime. You agree, right?
Yeah, we have some numbers, 3 billion of these letters, ATGC, between you and me, 3 million of variants.
Yes.
And the number of synapses, more than the number of stars.
Wow.
So
never stays the same. And with your work, and I think I wanted to go back to what you said, Thomas, about this new center will be specifically dedicated to neuroscience. It will be all about neuroscience, correct?
Yeah, there will be neuroscience, but there will be a lot of stuff. It will be really a place when the family are coming. Yes. It would be for children, but we are working on the transition from children to adult. Okay. This is a nightmare for the families.
Yes.
I mean, when you are 17 and 364 days, it's okay. And when you are 18 with plus 1 day, it's a different world, different specialty, which is really a nightmare. So we want to change that.
Okay.
But there will be not only neuroscience, it will be really like a place to live.
Just gathering. Yeah. And so, Martina, with your work, particularly with Alzheimer's, recomposing memories. We talked about collective memory as well, how important it is for generations. Some generation, we just have lost some of the memories because we have little civil records. We don't know their stories. And it's so important collectively to understand our common history. So maybe you can touch on that very quickly because we're over time. But
absolutely.
It's an important topic.
Yeah, actually, one of the main things that triggered our pilot project was this idea that there's a very big part of population whose memories have not been documented at all or very little documented, and yet the whole knowledge they have within themselves is so valuable and so important for us right now, no? So there was on one hand, we wanted to capture all of this, and on the other hand, we also saw, and we are seeing with all the little chapters that we developed, that there's also a huge potential in bringing this intergenerational dialogue at the center and using at the end AI as a tool to get this connection happening. No? So we see how with the pilot we can build capacity building for young people, but also how they relate differently and how they listen much more to older generations and their life histories in a way that they end up co-creating a sort of sense-making of these memories, of these lives.
Thank you, Martina. I think the 3 takeaways is to listen to our hearts, drink Café Joyeux, definitely follow Naked Heart France, explore your new center and explore your work, because you do such an amazing work, and you all do such an amazing work. So yeah, from the brain to the heart, Thank you so much. Thank you. Give me your mic here.